everybody. Good afternoon, translators. Hello. I'm going to try and speak very slowly for you. Is that good? Excellent. Excellent. I love having translators because it means I can speak very slowly and it makes me sound really clever. So, the internet there. My name is Ben Hammersley. I do many things. I'm the editor-at-large of Wired magazine, which is quite a well-known English language magazine about the internet. And I also work for the British Prime Minister as his ambassador to the internet, which is a very exciting job. It means I have a hat with a feather and a sword, and I get to declare war on different bits of the internet every so often. And my job really is to travel the world and talk to people about the future. Because of this, I live in the future. By law, I have to live in the future. For those of you who don't live in the future, you'll be very excited to know, April 2012, PowerPoint will be made illegal. And so I don't have any slides here. It's just me talking at you for the next half an hour or so. That's always a good joke. Everybody likes me doing the PowerPoint is illegal joke. Everywhere I go, they love it. But it's slightly a melancholy joke. It's quite a sad joke because it turns out that people are quite tired. People are a little bit weary. It's almost winter. You go outside here, it's grey skies, it's starting to get cold. And the great future that we were promised, the big future that we were going to have, the one with the jetpacks and the flying cars and the skateboards that hover and all of those things, that future isn't here. We see all of these videos that come from Silicon Valley of people doing cool things with their phone, and it's always either in a beautiful sunny day in California, or it's dark and neon lit and you're in Japan somewhere. But it's never ever a grey afternoon in Belgium. Or England, for that matter. And if you're clever, and everybody in this room is clever, you read the newspapers and you watch television and you read the web and you look on Twitter and you read the news. And the news is very depressing. Our future is sort of broken. 2011, the end of 2011, we were meant to have flying cars and the Apple teleporting machine. And the 4S is the same design as the iPhone 4, and I can't teleport anywhere, and the economy is broken. Bastards! Steve Jobs is dead. What are we going to do? And what's worse than that, what makes it worse is that our leaders, the politicians and business leaders around the world, are even more confused than we are. The week that Steve Jobs died, a few months ago, there is an American website called The Onion. Do you know The Onion? The Onion's if you don't know it, it's a very funny sort of mock newspaper. And they had a headline when Steve Jobs died. They said, "The last man who knew what he was doing is dead." This is very, very upsetting. And now you're looking at me and you're thinking, Ben, you're being really depressing. This is meant to be a conference about creativity and about innovation and about the digital world, and you're basically telling me everything is broken. And then you have that word innovation. Again. And everywhere you go, every conference you go to, every politician you talk to, every business person you talk to, every business magazine you pick up, keeps talking about innovation. We have to innovate. We have to be more innovative. How can we innovate more? The top 20 most innovative companies in the world. How to be innovative in your country. The most innovation in a city. Innovation, innovation, innovation. And on the one hand, that's very good and very exciting, and on the other hand, it's slightly desperate. And all of this is incredibly tiring. Because the innovation that we're getting is social networking, social graph, is gamification. It's finding new ways to analyze data to sell me some new stuff. It's not a glorious innovation. It's not putting a man on the moon, it's making Angry Birds 2. You know, it's not saying we're going to build an underwater city, fill it full of hot, good-looking people and have sharks with lasers on their heads, and it's going to be amazing. We're going to live in this amazing future. It's let's build a social network so we can gather some data so we can work out what thing you might want to buy. The future we have is rubbish. And why is it rubbish? What's going on? Why have we gone over the past 30 or 40 years from let's put a man on the moon to let's work out how to use Facebook to get people to earn badges so that we can maybe sell them some music they're never going to buy? How did we get over here when we started off over here? What's going on? These are the questions we have to be asking ourselves. The people in this room. Everybody in this room has to be asking themselves over the next few weeks, over the next few months, over Christmas, when you're in the family prison and you're not allowed to leave. You have to be nice to people. When you're drunk on the sofa, watching television and silently wishing your grandparents were dead. When you're in the family prison of Christmas, start thinking about this. Start thinking about why we're in this weird, rubbish future. First, something like that? Sometime in October. Christmas Day, 1990, the first web server is turned on. That's right, Christmas Day this year is the 21st birthday of the internet. You can now legally drink in America. Or the web, you know. So the web is, the Berlin Wall falls, the web is turned on. Suddenly we have a single superpower. And this World Wide Web thing. Over the next few years, America starts looking around for an enemy because it can't deal with living in a world where it doesn't have an enemy. And it starts looking at the Chinese, and the Chinese are like, what? No? And then and that doesn't work. And they look to the Iranians, and the Iranians are like, no? They look to the Iraqis, oh, that's good fun, so we have a bit of a war. But meanwhile, the World Wide Web is starting to look at other industries. And people on the web are looking at the music industry and saying, yeah, I'm going to have some of these. And they're looking at the travel industry and they're thinking, you're nice. Thank you very much. And they're looking at the banking industry, they're looking at all these different industries, and the web is starting to take over. Nobody really understands the web apart from these mad 20-year-olds who are on Internet Explorer 2 and hitting view source and teaching themselves how to code. And then in the afternoon going away and destroying industries. So suddenly we're in the mid-90s, the end of the 90s, and there's the internet boom. And the internet comes along, the web comes along and starts eating industries. Now think, if you're an old person, in the end of the 90s, you have the internet, which you don't understand at all, taking over industries which you thought were completely untouchable. The music industry, the travel industry, the television industry, newspapers. And you're living politically in a world which is completely confusing. Because there's no enemy. We don't have anybody to drive our tanks towards. And then in 2001, two things happened. Phone rings. In 2001, two things happened. The internet boom collapses. So first we had this new economy, and then it goes away again. Huh? And then 9/11 happens. And suddenly we have a new enemy, but that enemy is everywhere and nowhere. It's not a country. We can't point at it. We can't send them a postcard. You can't send the president of Al-Qaeda a Christmas present. There's no address. It's not like the Russians. So suddenly again the world has changed completely. So if you are somebody who is now in their 50s and 60s, you've lived through 20 or 30 years of complete and utter change. Everything has gone crazy. And you're basing your worldview, your psychology is based entirely on a world that was pre-1989, Cold War, pre-internet, very boring, very steady, everybody knew their place, hierarchy, all of that. And now we find ourselves in 2011, where everything is confusion. Everything is weird. Where nobody knows their place. Where nobody has to ask permission to do anything anymore. Facebook, everybody's very excited by the fact that Facebook is now 800 million users in 7 years. Now that's an amazing thing. To go from no users at all to 800 million to nearly an eighth of the entire population of the world. 1 in 8 people in the world is on Facebook. That's an amazing thing, but the really amazing thing is that Mark Zuckerberg didn't have to ask anybody's permission to do it. There was nobody he could go to get them to sign a thing that said it was okay. He didn't need to. He just built it and they came. Now, for most people in this room, that's an incredibly natural thing. That you don't have to ask somebody's permission to do anything anymore. But for people in their 50s and 60s, that's a completely alien concept. It's completely weird that nobody here would ever think of asking permission. If you want to take a video and put it online and have the entire internet be able to see it, then that's what you do. 30 years ago, that would have been impossible, technically, of course, but it would also have been impossible socially. You wouldn't have been allowed to do it. You would have had to have asked permission. And what we're facing right now is a world split down the middle. You have the world which is being run by leaders who think in the 1989 way, the pre-1989 way. All of the politicians, all of the business leaders, all of the world leaders, all of those people, bankers, everybody, pre-internet. And then you've got you guys, and Anonymous, and the Occupy movement, and the terrorist groups, and the non-nation state actors, and the interesting .com companies, and you all think in a different way. You organize yourselves differently, you relate to each other differently, you create different things, you measure your success in different ways, and you never ever ask permission. We're now entering the training montage section of this speech. Learn everything you can. And learn real things. Stop thinking about social graphs and how to make Angry Birds and all of that. Go away and read a book on economics. Go and look at a map of the world. Find where you live in relation to everywhere else. Read the newspapers. It'll be really cool one day. You'll be able to tell your grandchildren what newspapers were. So read newspapers today whilst they still exist. Listen to the radio, watch TV. Start learning about the world. You're going to be in charge of it soon, so make sure you know what it is. And prepare yourself mentally. Because things are going to get very ugly